Welcome to Awakening Your Empress podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about you as a woman, how you function as a woman, because we've been trained so much on how to function, but from the perspective of a man, not how a woman functions on all levels. We're going to be getting to each level of your being. And we have with us today Victoria, who's going to be walking us through all this. She is an intimacy coach of 20 plus years, helping you reconnect with your body's desire and soul on your terms. That's a big one for me, on your terms. Through one-on-one coaching, somatic de-armoring, training, and classes. And yeah, that whole like on your terms, that might be a little bit of, my childhood coming up of like, what do you mean I can't? What do you mean I can't this? What do you what do you say? Yeah, I can. So it's gotta be on my terms. Welcome, Victoria. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's awesome. So what's going on? What is it like? What you had shown me that there are different systems into really getting into your body, knowing you, knowing yourself, knowing ourselves as women, rather than
Yes.
following what we've been told. Like I know even things like, fasting, we've talked about this, how there's a difference how a woman needs to fast and a difference how a man needs to fast.
Mhm.
And even like what I've noticed is workouts, especially at this stage of my life, a workout looks very different than maybe in my early 20s that would drain my adrenals. Where now those type of workouts don't work for me. So what can you share with us?
Well, first of all, it's really important for every woman to celebrate and affirm the fact that you are a biological female and that you function differently than a male body. So let's talk about the cycle that you just mentioned with regards to fasting. So when we fast, we need to fast according to our cycle. So let's break down the four areas. So there is the menstrual time, which is the bleed time. Then there's the follicular stage, which means that the body is becoming fruitful for an egg to be fertilized, which is ovulation, which is the next phase. And then we go into luteal phase, which is where the egg was not fertilized, and therefore the body starts preparing the body to start shedding the egg that was not fertilized. So we have these four different particular areas. And for women, we hormonally shift our body on a week-to-week basis. And if we know that there are four stages in our change in our body, then we know that there are four different kinds of activities or movement or physical endurance that we can do. So example, luteal phase, when our body is shedding the egg that was not fertilized, means that we slow down and we go into nurturing phase. And then as we get into our bleed time, we leave a couple of days for rest to allow the body to let go of things that do not serve us. So as the blood releases from the body, our emotions need to be released as well. And that also overlaps into the luteal phase. So I need to just chill, relax, and then I can start planning. I can start planting seeds for what I want to come into the next phase. So the next phase is the follicular phase, which means my body's now ramping back up again to prepare for an egg to come in. And so I will be able to do more exercising, more interactions, more social. And then when ovulation comes, I'm super social, super assertive, very clear about what I want, and I can do high interval movement and physical activity. And then we come back to luteal again if the egg is not fertilized. So we run on a 4-week cycle that allows our body to do major changes.
Yeah, and
Now, I'm just going to tell you the difference between male and female because it's really important. So some people need a reference point. So for the gentlemen, they run on a 24-hour hormonal cycle, which means their body runs on a testosterone high level in the morning and slowly starts dissipating throughout the day. And then it rises again. It's like the sun coming up and the sun going down, the sun coming up and the sun going down. And in a lot of the intimacy work that I do in Tantra, the gentlemen are referred to as the sun and the women are referred to as the moon, which makes complete sense.
yeah, and I remember when taking the course with you years back, one thing that I loved is really knowing and understanding my cycle, understanding why I felt certain ways at different times in my cycle. And I mean, now I don't have one, but now I'm just following the moon. At times, still my body where it's at, because if it still needs to rest and it's a full moon, then I still take that time, depending on what it is that my body needs, like really connecting and paying attention to it. But my business, like I've started creating it and my tasks based on the cycles of the moon as well.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yes.
going back to, you know, our cycles, when having also our periods, um, it really helped me a lot, especially during menstruation, especially during that downtime. Because it's like I understood what I needed even more. Because it's easy to like just be in that, like that, um, what's it called? The phase where, the egg is sitting there ready to be, you know, to flourish, to whatever. I can't even think of the word right now.
Fertilize.
That's
Fertilize.
it, to be fertilized. It's been so long. It's waiting to be fertilized. That excitement, that phase. It's easier. I find that phase a little easier to go through. It's, the opposite end of the cycle that tends to be more tabooish in some ways. Like it hasn't really been taught, like to wanting to sit there and be within. Like I noticed I needed more comfort. I needed more grounding. I needed things simple and soft and gentle during those times. But that's something that's really not embraced in society. It's very go, 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 move, 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 move. So there'd be this like, why am I feeling like this? There's something wrong with me, blah, 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 blah. I don't have time to relax. I got things to do, blah, blah, blah. So really getting to know that I found made a big difference in understanding myself and what I needed at that time. And I think that piece is like such an important piece. Like I said, especially because there's nothing out there in society that actually supports that. I mean, slowly now, as women start to get to know this stuff, because really it's ancient stuff, just coming back to the surface for us to learn is just beautiful. And it still needs to be out there even more right now, which is one reason why we're doing this, is to awaken
Yes.
women to see this.
So I'm just going to say that it's really important for women to understand that we've been indoctrinated to think that we move and groove like a man, and we do not. Absolutely not. That's why we get super tired and we lose it. And people think that we're very um, aggressive and snappy, and the word bitchy comes into mind. So we get these names because we're forcing our cycle to do something it is not capable of doing.
Yeah. And I do feel too with the way we live, it really throws off our hormones, which gives us symptoms that we actually don't even need. So
That's right.
the needing to go within, yeah, of course. That's all the natural stuff. But then when we get into like the cravings or sweats or some other things, that's more about the toxins that are in the body rather than that natural need to relax. Like that, basically at that time, those toxins, the body wants to release those toxins. The body wants to release everything that doesn't serve us. The more toxic and the more stuff that we're holding on to during that time, the bigger the release that needs to be done. So that's what I've really also become present to. And we also had discussed this at one point that the more a woman holds in during the month, the more she also verbally needs to release during that time of the month because she hasn't stood in her truth for one reason or another. That comes, the inner work comes in there. So, yeah, during that time, the more that's been held on to and not released, whether it be verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically, having a lot of toxins throughout the month, it's going to need to shed during that time. So, yeah, it was
So
just
keep in
beautiful.
mind that your period, when it comes through your body, when it's releasing and giving you the sign that if the blood that was not used to nourish a new life is a sign for you to release any emotional angst, anything you've been holding back, anything that you've been thinking about that you've been holding back, anything energetically that you've been holding back. That's the green thumbs. We're moving forward and we're releasing. anything that does not serve us. Not just the physical blood, but also the emotional state, the mental state, and the energetic state of the body.
Yeah, because they all come together. As someone that has done my, mental emotional work, worked on that level, the spiritual, the physical, I find one automatically does come with the other. So even when I've done, like even my last fasting that I did a water and tea fast. The mental emotional stuff was coming up to release as well. Like it all happens together. And that's the
Hmm.
other piece that is unfortunate because everything does come together. Like I know some people that were doing, the work on the physical level. And it's like, okay, but also expect the emotional level to come in as well. Because you also need to release on that level because they're not separate from each other. They appear separate from each other, being in these human bodies, but they're actually all connected and actually work all together. Like the mindset will create a physical ailment. The physical ailment will also affect the mindset, as above, so below, as below, so above. Like it all works together. And yeah, so it's important to really remember those pieces when being aware of this work and being aware of your cycles. Yeah. What else could we talk about in this area? You had mentioned there are different levels you had there.
So once again, if we go back to the cycle and we could use that as our reference point, which is really important, that all women really look at their menstrual cycle. And it doesn't matter whether you're in menopause, perimenopause, the only difference is that the menopause period, the hormonal changes are turned down on low, but they're still happening. So you will feel sensitive and emotional as we're in the luteal phase, as we're approaching our menses, the menses that we don't have. Because we go through the life, birth, and rebirth cycle every 30 days, 21 days, 28 days. Each person's different. And so we need to honor that. And menstrual cramps are not normal.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why they're happening and the reason why it's created $1 billion pharmaceutical company like laughing all the way to the bank is because we have been going against our natural cycle. We don't stop. We don't slow down. We don't pause. We don't nurture. We push through. We put ourselves on the back burner. We do everything a man can do because we've been told by the feminists, which is totally wrong, and that we can do the same as a man. We are not built the same. Never were built the same. Men cannot carry a baby. Men do not go through a menstrual cycle. They don't have breast tissue that will feed a baby. They don't have ovaries and a uterus. They are not us. They are different. And the more we can wrap that around our head, the better. And recently, a really great article has come out, which really puts a focus on the fact that my bridge between my left and my right hemisphere for a female is much bigger and thinner, which means information goes from left to right hemisphere very quickly, which means we can multitask. Men cannot do that. Their bridge between the left and the right hemisphere is shorter and thicker, which means that they can focus only on one thing at a time. And they need more time to process information. So if a woman thinks really at high speed and connects at high speed emotionally, men are not able to do that physiologically.
Mhm.
So that will change your process on how you look at your man. So if you're waiting for him to answer you right away, he's not able to because his physiology doesn't work that way. You have to give him space to process, and then he has to come back and have a chat.
Okay, that makes sense with women being able to process things quicker. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and especially what I find is emotions. That
Hmm.
women also process emotions quicker, and at the same time, men have the other side of the coin where they were taught not to feel. That feeling is weakness. Emotions are weakness. So, unfortunately, they got that end of the stick as
Well,
well.
it's not necessarily that end of the stick. It's biologically they're actually wired not to be as emotional as we are because we're the caregivers. We're supposed to be attached to the children that we produce. So their job is to go out and hunt and bring back food, which means they need focused energy and not to get muddled up in the emotions. So imagine a man with a mother and 2 children, and his wife he has to take care of them. So he has to go out and slay the dragons or go hunting, however we want to call it in today's society. And his testosterone is the highest in the morning. So his energy peaks at that moment. If he's hanging out with his wife and talking about his feelings, then it brings his testosterone down and he can't function properly in the real world to bring home the bacon. Okay? So when his testosterone starts sliding down at the end of the day, then he can sit down with the kids, with the wife, and connect. He's built for action. We're built for connection. That's another difference people don't know.
Well, the other thing is, though, with the men, what I say with the emotions is that they don't actually sit there and process their emotions. They try and bury them, which then shows up in other unhealthy habits instead of facing them, processing them, and moving on. It could be at the end of the night after he's done his whole testosterone thing with the work and all of that. But at some point, I mean, he's still a human being. We still have that, the feminine, the masculine within us both. One will be more predominant than the other, of course, um, but still needing to still be with what they have in order to process it still, though.
He requires time alone to process emotions. We don't require time alone to process emotions. We actually need him to process emotions. That's how we're wired, or our children, or our girlfriends, or our mother, or our auntie, or our grandma. He needs to process on his own, or go to his man cave, or talk to his elder, or his father, or his grandfather, or whoever is in his man group or circle, and then come to us, the female, and say, this is what I process, this is what I notice, this is how I see things moving forward. Because his brain is action oriented and fix it mode. It's not wired to sit down and have a conversation. So in today's age, we're asking men to become more emotionally intelligent and more relationally intelligent. And if we're asking that of them, we also need to respect the way they process.
Oh, yeah, of course. I can see the whole needing to go within. Um, with as far as going to friends or things like that, unfortunately, I've seen some unfortunate situations where if they're going to someone that's not emotionally intelligent themselves, that it
Hmm.
can get dangerous because of the kind of advice that they get. So when you say elders, someone that maybe is more aware, someone that is more in their like their king, their emperor state, like that part of them, then definitely like seeking out that advice or that person to connect with and to work things through with, that is in a higher state than where, and same goes with the women too, right? Being mindful of who we're going to advise to, right? I find that piece has also been very important as well because, mhm.
So I think we've lost our way in the family structure and community and our connection to spirit or God, whatever you want to call it. I think that we have lost our way tremendously, and today's society has made it its mandate to separate families from unity and community and a spiritual connection, a purpose, a meaning. So women are built to create and hold and multiply whatever their man creates and provides and protects. And the gentlemen are here to care for us, to be able to provide and protect us in ways that are emotional, that are physical, that are energetic, that are mental, to allow us the space to become soft and feminine, to be in our natural state. So, once again, if I want to be in my natural state of feminine strength and empathy and connection, then I need a strong structure in a man to allow me to go there. If I also do the same thing a man does, then I'm living a man's life and not in my natural feminine state, which makes me super tired and exhausted. And I don't know how to function as a female, as a soft feminine with the strength and the power that's behind that and the intuition. So we lose ourselves, which is a really sad state of affairs in today's society.
It is very unfortunate the way the dynamic between the two has become. And as a single woman myself, what I actually discovered was because of being single, connecting with the masculine energy in the ethers or in the cosmos, or I don't even know what word I want to use. you know, my guides, the gods, whatever it is. I've stopped trying to figure out exactly what the label of everything is that I sense. Really tapping into and feeling, because I've really, really felt it and it feels awesome. The masculine energy, that protective, I've got your back, I've got you covered energy, because it's
Mhm.
allowed me to step into my feminine, to step into my unknown, right? Still having, the pieces of my masculine within, because I still need to take action. I'm not just sitting there. That's not what the feminine is either. There's always a balance between the two on some level.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so what I discovered for myself is the more I brought in that energy feeling of the masculine within my body and my consciousness and all that kind of stuff, the more it's allowed me to take chances. Like now with 2026, this will be going out in January 2026. I've taken leaps I was too scared to before, because of also knowing I'm protected with that energy. So for, yeah, the single women out there, don't worry about it. There's always a way. You know what I mean? You're not lost just because you don't have the man there. And at the same time, when you're single and you really embrace this space, that's when the divine masculine also shows up. Like what I've really discovered is a woman being in her empress energy, her divine feminine, with also the balance of that masculine. I don't want to, it can't be all one. We need a certain balance. I've really discovered that we actually take the lead energetically, creating that energetic space of who we are, being in our empress is actually what then triggers the masculine to really show up in his own, and to really show up then in our lives as a single woman. Even if you are in a relationship, you really step into your empress. You really come into that space and watch how your man then shows up. Watch what ends up happening. I've really discovered more and more that the woman starts the show. She really starts the show. And at that point, whether the man rises to meet her at that place was going to be another story. And a woman will make her decision from there. So yeah, I wanted to add that part, especially for us single ones. It's like, oh, what? You can be my masculine. But yeah, it's an energy. It's an energy that we embody not only as humans, but it's an energy that's partly what this is made out of, and enjoying and dancing it.
Absolutely.
What else
You
do you
need to
got?
know how your body works in all areas. So, again, if we go back to the reference point of our menstrual cycle, you will be more aggressive, more assertive, more clear about what you want around ovulation because your body is wired to mate, to create. So you're looking for the appropriate alpha male or beta male, whichever one is in your sphere, to create life. You are wired that way. And you are more open and more adventurous to try new things if you are in a relationship. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I noticed that, yes. Also, when it came to intimacy, like sexual intimacy, there's a difference between what we crave during ovulation and during or before menstruation is that softness. It's more during that time, it's more missionary. It's more gentle. It's slow moves, I notice. And then during the full moon, it's like, ooh, some adventure, some excitement, something different and new, right? Like I really got present to those as well. I'm like, this makes so much sense. I need more of the
Yes.
comfort, the
Mhm.
gentle, the soft, no quick actions.
Yes, because today's society, I refer to it as the porn model society. A lot of people have access to porn, which actually wires their brain to think that if I press play on the video, that is exactly the same way my partner will show up. And that is not the way it works. So in our menstrual cycle, sexually, our energy changes in the luteal phase, which is the one just before our menstrual cycle, that we want to nurture and calm and soothe and be in a state of safety. So soft touches, cuddles, sensual massage, healing touch, etc. And then when we're in bleed time, again, it's still moves over to that area. We're still holding space for quiet time, for relaxing, for deep thought, for intuition to come forward, to talk about things that are interesting after day 3 or 4 of your bleed time, because your progesterone and estrogen start to rise back up again. And so keep in mind, biologically, your estrogen and progesterone drops for your body to allow the bleed to happen. So hormonally, we're shifting. And then our cycle is ramping up again. So progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone are starting to slowly move up on the scale. And the highest point is during our ovulation for testosterone, which gives us the action-oriented movement to go forward. And we're not the initiators, by the way. We are not. We are open to allowing somebody to share our physical body during ovulation, but we're not the initiators necessarily unless our biological clock is ticking and we haven't had anybody in a while and we feel like it's desert and we're looking for an oasis.
Yeah, I find with that it's the man that's the initiator on that sense. The woman's energy though precedes that. It's where she's at to open herself up to bringing that in as well. It's her being
Exactly.
into that space of allowing it to come in. So I find when like, I know with my, I say that women begin everything, they begin it on an energetic level in that
Yes.
space. And then the man takes the lead in the physical in that
Yes. And
form.
he actually moves to the drum beat or the heartbeat, as we like to call it, of the woman's movement of energy. So if he touches her, for example, and her body relaxes and she takes a deep breath, then that's green to go, for example, and her body is open to receive. If her body contracts or her breath stills, that means we're not going there because there's something that just got triggered or something's not quite right. And so she needs to know that the gentleman that she's with can be in attunement to her energy and her body movements, that he protects her. And so she feels safe. And the more she feels safe, the more she will open and blossom.
And can we get into porn for a moment? How has that affected the beauty of sexual intimacy, the power of it, like how it affects in things in the bedroom, how it actually takes power away, even though it's perceived as if it's being power in the moment. But in the long run, it actually seeps one's power.
And it's actually leaky power. We call it leaking. So when a gentleman is addicted to porn or a female is addicted to porn, but predominantly is usually the male, and he's leaking his energy, which means he's not fully present. He's not fully patient and he's not fully attuned to the woman that he's with. He actually overimposes or imprints whatever visual he had from the porn video that he's watching to the female that he's with. And so his expectations are totally different and it changes his presence. He's actually imagining in his head the video image that he had just seen or has seen or is watching on a regular basis. So it creates a disconnection which creates a sense of unsafety. As a woman, I don't feel safe around a man like that because it's all about performance and it's all about pushing the envelope to where I am not feeling safe. And to be honest, there are women out there that will push the envelope with him because they don't want him to abandon them, which is one of our biggest fears. They will allow the man to do whatever he wants because we don't want him to reject us or we don't want him to walk away from us. So it's always the abandonment issue or I'm feeling not worthy enough. So I'm going to show him I'm worthy and I'm going to give him what he wants. So we go into that negative spin, that negative narrative, which is unhealthy for us. And the porn model helps to feed that because it's creating expectations. And I don't like the word expectations, as you know, because in brackets, it says disappointment in my head. So keeping that in mind, porn has not done anybody any good. It's done a disservice to our connection as humans on planet Earth, let alone how it's serving our community, our strength as human beings on planet Earth, and the true essence of the feminine. It's actually disrespectful.
Wow, that was a lot. And I felt that all. And I just got present to like all of that because it's like, it does. And the whole pleasing. And I just want to add that there's a difference between surrendering to your man and allowing him to lead in the bedroom And there's a
Yes.
difference between doing what he wants to do in order to please, in order to be considered, ooh, the best girlfriend or the best this, or just to make sure you got that attention. And it's all like surface level. It's very
Mhm.
sad. It's all surface level. And that's it. Like it leaks power. Or as you said, what word you use? I usually use leaks.
Yep, I
Um,
use leaks too. Leaking energy,
yeah, like it just
leaking presence, leaking patience, leaking you're not fully there. So why are you here?
well,
I am
and
not an itch for you to
also
scratch.
Also, when a man then is having that type of sex with a woman and they're not in their conscious state, they got to be careful because if both people aren't in a more conscious, higher state, it could actually leak energy from both of them. Because one person's, so there's another piece that I had learned about, we imprint on each other. So if
Mhm.
one person is not in the greatest space or something's going on, and I don't mean like just having a bad day, like I'm not talking like, you know, I'm talking deep stuff.
You're
Or
talking
they're
about
prone
their
to like
their personal issues.
deep issues that are buried,
Mhm.
that they're not facing. And this goes with the men and women, right? The stuff
Mhm.
that's being
Issues.
buried,
Yeah.
it'll transfer. Like it'll transfer that denser energy to the other person. And then they're also not only dealing with their own energy, but they're also dealing with someone else's, their stuff as
Mhm.
well, because it creates
Yep.
that unseen cord that can be really unhealthy and
Absolutely.
affect one's goals, affect what one wants to create in life and expand in life, right? Because it just starts
Mhm.
to lower their frequency.
Yep, it affects them energetically and emotionally because keep in mind what we talked about earlier in our chat today is that the female brain is situated in a way where the emotional brain side and the logic brain side move very quickly from one to the other side. Okay. Because our bridge between those two sides is much bigger and thinner. So information moves faster. And for the gentleman, it moves slower and it takes time for them to go from one side of the brain to the other. So therefore, the imprinting that happens is much stronger from a female.
From a female to the man?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it because of the processing of the energy, the processing of the thing.
Yes. Exactly. Because remember, when a man is with a woman, he's very focused on the technique. He's very focused on performance. He's very focused on, and that's what society has created through the porn model. Okay. Now, if we look at it from a sacred sexuality perspective, if the man does not leak energy, which means he's fully present, he's patient, and he's attuned to the movements and energy of the feminine body, then he's fully here and now. So there won't be any leaking. He's done his work. He's checked out his shadows. He's checked out his baggage. He's worked on his issues and his tissues. This is the kind of man that we're looking for, which means that we also have to do the same work.
Well, yeah. Because, yeah, it still goes, yeah, both ways where the woman can really affect the man and vice versa. Because I know I've had it's happened to me before where all of a sudden I've attracted entities once actually because
Mm-hmm.
that person had entities around them. They courted me and then the entities came around me. And I'm like, whoa, no, not happening, not allowed. Bye bye.
Right. So you just proved that since the female is much thinner in quicker movement, it's easier for us to get entangled in somebody else's stuff or entities or anything that's around.
Okay. Because, yeah, I was just like, no. Because, so, yeah, the energy of who we're having sex with is important. Bottom line. Like I really got present to that. And it's so important because again, it could actually take from our lives or fuel our lives. I've definitely noticed that trend. I mean, even when I got my tattoo, like I really got present to when I got the one in Greece, um, how important it was that the vibration of the person also tattooing me such a role to play as well and was so important because I feel that tattoo very different than I feel some of my other tattoos. Like I just got present to that. So it's so important who we allow and to interact with and bring into our lives and especially on that deep level. It's different if it's like surface conversation, things like that. But to bring them into that depth and learning with you the power of sexual intimacy. Like, it's insanely powerful. And if we actually all used it in a way or embraced it in a way that it's actually meant to, my God, the right two people could probably physically move mountains. That's the way I see it, is that it's so powerful that we can create like that.
Absolutely. So to harness your sexual energy means that you need to understand how to connect to your own body without any distractions, like porn, for example, or anything related to that arena, and getting up close and personal with your body from the tip of your toes to the tip of your head, not necessarily focusing just in the pelvic region, because you are made up of everything. So, sacred sexuality looks at the holistic approach of the entire body through the physical form, through the mindset, through the emotional state, and the energy. So, we look at four things altogether, and then we move through that, and we do it with intention and presence.
Yeah, because it's so powerful. It's beautiful. It's powerful. It's unfortunate the way it's been taken, but it's up to us to change that now, right? We know this, we have this knowledge now, we have the wisdom of this, and it's moving forward in that way. I know with me, I realize it's time for me to go back to some of the exercises that I learned from you. And I can't remember what it was called, what you labeled it. One with the coconut oil.
It's the solo pleasure practice where you
That's
actually
it. The
connect with
solo
your
pleasure.
body.
That's right. The solo
So
pleasure
your
practice.
your solo pleasure practice starts with just the sensations, your five sensations. So what you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch of your body.
Yeah, and I remember doing it at one point when I took the course with you, and I just found it made such a difference within me, and I had stopped, and now I'm in a place of, like, newness coming into my life. There's been some endings in my life recently, a lot of, like, ending on different levels, and now it's time for me to harness and really step even further into fully embodying my empress. And I know that that pleasure practice is actually one of the key pieces that I need to begin again to embody, embrace it even further. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I'm going to make a note to start that tonight.
Yeah. Make a note to start the we refer to that as the sensate pleasure practice for one. So allowing yourself to fully connect through your senses before you go into, or I should say, we layered it. We go to the pelvic region afterwards, but initially we want to just start with reconnecting with our own body.
Yeah, I do. I find that so important. And I found it also important to be so connected from a place of then having boundaries with our ego and certain cravings we have within the body where that higher self, that higher mind of ours, by being connected to our body and really knowing and nourishing, knowing what it really needs, that when it is craving that junk food, and we know this is not the ideal time for that, we actually, because we're so connected with our bodies, we make better decisions. That's what I notice is the more I'm connected with my body, is one of the aspects or one of the pieces to me making
Hmm.
better decisions for my body as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's so important on so many levels. So to wrap it up, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else that comes to mind?
I think it's really important also to note that really take it seriously that you're built differently than a man is, and that you have the sovereignty to learn how your body works. Know thyself is a very famous saying, and I highly recommend that you learn your body physically, you learn your body emotionally, you learn your body energetically and mentally, because we function very differently. So I want to end on that note that I'm emphasizing and affirming that you need to know all those different areas of your being as a feminine versus a masculine. And I'm just ramping up this year for 2026 also to start creating a mystery school where we take people through that process and separating the men from the women and then bringing the men and the women together.
That sounds awesome. Because yeah, there's definitely healing individually, and then being able to the blend the 2 afterwards. So
I
I think
mean,
that's great.
we blended before because we want to see the changes. So we want some foundational information on how your operating system works. So understanding how you self-regulate, how you understand how you function in the love languages, for example, which is one of my favorite tools. And then to understand how we want to push through a block or a aspect of yourself that you have a narrative around that you want to work with, and then separating the groups and then bringing them back together again so they can see the changes between them as men and women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense because it also helps measure everything, and knowing
Yes,
it also brings out to the forefront what needs to be worked on. It does all
exactly.
that triggering afterward. That sounds awesome. So we'll include the link in the description below, unless you would just wanna share it quickly as well.
It's just playfulloving.com, which is the website that I currently have, and it's going to be another additional section on the site that will come into being by the spring. But right now, I'm doing a couple of what I refer to as pilot immersions for our classes, and I refer to them as the alchemy of desire and devotion.
Okay, awesome. So someone could also register for your newsletter on your website, things like that, so they could be notified as to when the mystery school arrives.
Yes, absolutely. So on the first page at the very top, you'll see that you also can get a little gift, and you automatically get placed on the email list.
Okay, awesome. So we'll include everything below, including your socials as well, so people know to connect with you there as well. Thank you, Victoria. It's always
Thank you.
awesome having our chat. For those that you don't know, I've known Victoria for quite a few years now, and we can have some interesting chats. And really, like, box? What box? There's no box. Life is outside of the box. Screw this box. Who says I could be in a box or I need to be in a box? Fuck that shit. So, yeah, it's all about outside the box, man. If you have any questions, if there's anything you want to share, any comments, what did you think? What resonated with you the most? What would you like to learn more about? Comment below. Let us know. Thank you for trusting us with your journey. And thank you to Victoria for embracing and bringing your wisdom to the Awakening Your Empress audience.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.